Hey, Mr. Bob, are you in here?
Well, good morning, Zach. Hey, I'm over here. Come on in and see what I'm working on.
What is that? Some kind of fancy walking stick? Since when do you need a cane to get around?
I don't. This is the new invention I've been working on. Remember my old time machine and how big it is? Well, thanks to new aerospace technology and miniaturization, I've been able to shrink my time machine down to fit inside this cane. Now I'm hoping to occupy my retirement time with a historical travel blog of sorts.
Oh, no way. You're telling me that you're going to go back in time and record history like a fly on a wall and then post it all?
Exactly. And if all my calculations are correct, anyone who is within a 10-foot radius of the cane will be caught up in the vortex and taking the ride back in time with me. That's the part I have to be careful about.
Wow, that would be so cool. I'm in. When do we get to go?
Whoa, hold on there, young buck. I still have a lot of beta testing to do before anyone can tag along. Besides, I'm not sure how long these batteries will last. I've never taken 2 people back just yet. But believe me, when I get this power thing worked out, you'll be the first one I call.
That's cool. Tell me more about this historical travel blog you want to produce.
Think about it, Zach. What if I could dial up a place and time in history, go there, and record my adventures for posterity? What a great history lesson that would make.
But aren't you going to look a little out of place walking around, say, 19th century America with a video camera in your hand?
That's the beauty of this new technology. I have cameras and microphones built into the frame of my glasses. My viewers will see and hear what I do. Well, at least that's the plan.
Mr. Bob, you never cease to amaze me. So where's your first stop? Medieval Europe? Ancient Egypt?
I think until I work all the bugs out of this, I'll stick close to home. I like the idea of doing a blog on the history of New Jersey. That way, if this cane hiccups, I can always walk home. Well, sorta.
Staying local. I like that idea. Hey, I gotta run, but keep me posted and let me know when. I might just tag along.
You know I will, Zach. Just stay tuned for further developments. Why am I second-guessing myself? I've done the calculations over and over again and keep getting the same answers. Some would say that's a sign of insanity. But if I'm going to do this, I just want to be sure and have enough time to properly test it. And above all, be safe.
You are listening to The World According to Mr. Bob, a historical fiction educational podcast based on true life events. Some sounds and language may be inappropriate. Listener discretion is advised.
You know, the best thing about this retirement gig is getting my life and time back. Back to doing the things that I like to do, like exploring the history that's all around me. So today, I'm traveling the 60 miles from my town that's just over the bridge from Philadelphia to Atlantic City, that was once billed as the world's playground. I figured down there, I can come and go and not even be noticed, like being lost in a crowd. But I do have to be careful about who's around me. So I'm hoping everyone can hear me and see what I see. This should be fun. I've made this trip dozens of times and never fails to get me excited the closer I get to the coast. As you come over that last hump of the causeway, the smell of salt air and the ocean breezes reinforces why this once lonely stretch of sand, called a barrier island, became some of the most expensive real estate in the country. But enough of that. I can see the boardwalk just a couple blocks away. So I'm going to park and take a stroll. Parking meters. the scourge of any big city. But it's a small price to pay for this. The Atlantic City Boardwalk, the world-renowned Atlantic City Boardwalk. It's almost hard to believe that this wooden structure has been around since 1870. That was right after the Civil War. But all this wouldn't have been possible if wealthy businessmen from Pennsylvania hadn't developed the Camden and Atlantic Company and got themselves a railroad charter. Their first train to Atlantic City from Camden arrived around July 1, 1854. And, excuse the pun, the rest is history. But enough of me talking. That hour-long ride made me hungry for some boardwalk treats, especially saltwater taffy. So let's go check out that store over there. Ah, James, saltwater taffy. Boy, it doesn't get any more Atlantic City than this icon. Excuse me, ma'am. Can you tell me if your candy is indeed made from salt water?
Oh, hey there, Mr. Bob. Well, I haven't seen you since last summer. How have you been? And what can I help you with?
Well, hello, Miss Lee. Before I put my order in, I was wondering if you knew the real story behind saltwater taffy.
Well, I wasn't there, but as the story goes... Whoa! What was that? And how did we get here? Would you look at her clothes? Like, Mr. Bob, what's going on?
Look, we just traveled back in time. I'll explain later. For right now, continue with your story.
Well, it was a dark and stormy day in 1883, Atlantic City. An August nor'easter storm had just raged off the coast, and David Bradley, who operated that candy store right over there on the boardwalk at St. James Place, had just placed the taffy he made in the display cases for sale. But last night, the storm was so fierce that the churning ocean splashed salt water all over his hard work.
Oh my goodness, what a mess. My entire life savings is tied up in this store. What am I gonna do now? And all this taffy. There must be some way to save it.
Well, David slashed around a few more times and then had an epiphany.
Sure, why not? I mean, it's only salt water. It's all natural. Besides, people have been eating salted caramel for years. I've got to at least try and save something.
Good morning, sir. This is quite the mess you have here. We weren't sure you'd even be open after last night's storm. Did any of your taffy survive for sale?
Whoa! Again with the spinning? Mr. Bob, what was that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to warn you about my new walking stick time machine. I'm down here trying to work the bugs out. Fun, isn't it?
Re-entry's a little rough, but other than that... Well, now, where was I? Oh, yeah. So the next day, as he continued to clean up his shop, he put the now saltwater-infused taffy for sale out front of his store, and the rest is history.
It was a genius marketing move, one that spawned an entire industry that's obviously still quite active today. It's a shame, though. The name stuck. Because Bradley did not copyright it or trademark the product, other candy makers used it to advertise their own taffy.
Yes. Back then, two families, the Freilingers and the Jameses, both helped popularize the candy. I understand today both companies make about 600,000 pounds of taffy a year. That's got to be like a parking lot full of cars made of taffy.
What a crazy thought. Anyway, thanks for the taffy. You know I'll be back.
Be safe, Mr. Bob. And oh, thanks for the ride.
There's nothing quite like leaning on a railing, watching the world go by on the beach. Hey, here's one of those historical markers. Interesting. On July 12, 1892, the Atlantic City Beach Patrol became the first professional lifeguards in the country. Just another first for this amazing city. I think I'll head to that shaded pavilion across from Convention Hall. I could use a break from this sun and sit down for a bit. Much more better. Now, let me just make sure this record button is still on. Okay, so people, I'm sitting across from what is a great-looking building, Atlantic City Convention Hall. Kind of looks like a giant airport hangar or even an army barrack. Either way, it's packed with so much history. I wonder what it must have been like to see the first Miss America pageant.
In Atlantic City's never-ending promotional campaign for the town, and its desire to extend the tourist season past Labor Day, the local merchants promoted a floral parade of bathing beauties. During these first contests, the decorated rolling chairs were judged, rather than the ladies riding in them. The concept was a little hokey and never really got the response the city wanted. There was just something missing.
You know, Herb, there has to be a better way. We're putting all this money into decorating the rolling chairs, and look around. No one other than a few tourists really care. If it weren't for those pretty girls riding in the chairs, I doubt if anyone would pay attention at all.
That's it. Pretty girls, not the chairs.
The eyes of a nation will be on Atlantic City from September 5th through the 11th as the national finals for the Miss America pageant will be held. Women from all around the country will compete for the coveted crown, which is the embodiment of beauty and talent. The Miss America pageant. Be there.
Whoa, I really do have to work on those re-entries. Is this mic still on? Anyway, so in 1921, these Atlantic City businessmen organized a small-scale beauty contest. 7 cities in the Northeast each sent a beauty maid to represent them in the contest during the first week of September. The winner was 16-year-old Margaret Gorman, representing Washington, D.C., who was awarded a gold mermaid statue and the title Miss America. From this 2-day event evolved the Miss America pageant that we know today. But you know, folks, the most interesting part of walking this famed boardwalk is the name of the streets that you pass along the way. Names like Baltic Avenue and Park Place, they're synonymous with the board game Monopoly. I've always wondered who invented the game and why they chose Atlantic City as the model. Let's go find out.
The year is 1929 and the stock market just crashed. And Charles B. Darrow suddenly found himself an unemployed salesman from Philadelphia. But Charles's real passion was inventing games, and with time suddenly on his hands, he was able to combine a hobby with his love of the seashore.
Charles Darrow! What have you done to my kitchen? And is that my good Sunday going to meeting tablecloth that you are drawing all over? I don't believe my eyes! You've got paint and hardware all over the place!
Edith, my dear, relax. What I have here is my new real estate game based on the streets of Atlantic City. It's got play money, houses, and hotels. Invite the gang over tonight. We'll buy and sell until someone owns the entire city and is declared the winner.
Wow, everyone is right. Every entry is a little rough. I'll have to work on my stratospheric measurements and narrow down my descent corridor when I get back to the barn. Okay, back to the show. Anyway, Mr. Darrow called the game Monopoly, and it became very popular locally, but he couldn't get the Parker Brothers game makers to manufacture it on a large scale. That is until one night, Sally Barton, wife of Parker Brother President George Parker, brought a copy of the game home, and as I've said, the rest is history. Okay, it seems, folks, it's getting a little late, but I can't go home just yet without visiting what's left of the famous steel pier and see if I can't explore the legend of the diving horse. Whoa, that's it. Has that changed? It's nothing like I remember it as a boy. The casinos have enclosed the entire pier. Well, I guess that's progress. Since I'm here, let me plug in some coordinates and see if I can't get back to the early days of the pier. The story goes that in 1881, Doc Carver, who was a very flamboyant kind of Wild West character, was working one of those traveling Wild West shows. He was crossing a wooden bridge over the Platte River in Nebraska when the bridge gave way, plunging him and his horse into the river. The diving horse franchise grew out of that mishap, and over time, it became the best act on Carver's traveling animal shows.
The lights go out, except for the spotlight trained on the top of the platform. There, Potterface standing, seemingly unperturbed by the crowd below, or the bathing suit-clad women on his back. His coat glowing white against the darkness. For a moment, the horse shifts, pauses, his weight from hoof to hoof. 40 feet below is a pool of water, just 12 feet deep. The silence of the audience is deafening, the only sound coming from the waves crashing against the sides of the steel pier. Then, with thousands looking on, the horse slides off its perch and plunges into the pool. The silence was broken only when the rider surfaced with a raised hand. The crowd goes wild!
That's it. These Rienchis have got me worn out today. Besides, the Diving Horse Act in Atlantic City ceased in 1978. But because of finances, not animal rights issues. After 50 years, it was just no longer the novelty it once was. It was revived briefly in 1993, but was quickly stopped again. This time amid a backlash from people for the ethical treatment of animals. What a day! I can't believe those re-entries were as rough as they were. I'm all wore out. I'm going to have to go back and examine my space and time continuums. But, hey, that's all part of the fun and working the bugs out. Hope you folks out there understand. As I make my way back to my car, my thoughts are still on overload from all the unique and great things that have come out of Atlantic City. I didn't even step a foot into one of the hotel casinos that now dot the boardwalk. They replaced all the grand old hotels of the early 20th century. But because the Atlantic Ocean is only an hour ride away, I'm sure I'll be back.
The World According to Mr. Bob is produced by Bob Staniszewski and Adam Staniszewski. Recorded and mixed at Crooked Lane Sound in Cherry Hill, New Jersey by audio engineer and sound designer Adam Staniszewski. Episode number 1 of Season 2 was written by Bob Staniszewski and is titled Atlantic City. It features Zach Kennedy as himself, Lee Pinsky is the store clerk, and Connie and Brett Slavin performs Edith and Charles Darrow. Brett also reads the news anchor. Mr. Bob's graphics were designed by J.R. Farrell at Promotional Graphix, Doylestown, PA. The theme songs are provided by Doug Maxwell and E's Jammy Jams. For a full list of character and musical credits, please check out our website, theworldacordingtomrbob.com. And while you're on the internet, please follow our Facebook page for updates. Hit the like and subscribe buttons on our YouTube channel. And if you want to advertise or sponsor the show, please email us at worldofmrbob@gmail.com. I'm Danielle Byrne, announcer extraordinaire. Thank you for listening, and please tune in to the next exciting episode of The World According to Mr. Bob. This has been a Moon Ranger production.